For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had maintained the most sacred law in known space, the Slumber Protocol. Every species, from the silicon-based crystalline collective to the gas-dwelling nebula shepherds, knew the rule by heart. Never approach Sol 3. Never wake the sleeping terrors. Ambassador ZUX-9 of the Ethereal Confederacy floated nervously in the council chambers, his translucent form flickering with anxiety. As the newest member species, the Confederacy had been briefed on the protocol, but the younger generation questioned its necessity. Honored Council, ZUX-9's voice resonated through psionic frequencies. My people wish to understand. These humans have been dormant for millennia. Our scans show their technology has stagnated. Surely the threat is silence. The ancient voice of Prime Counselor Threnox, a being older than most stars, shook the chamber. His crystalline body pulsed with warning colors. You know nothing of what we witnessed, young one. Before the protocol, there were over 10,000 sentient species in this galaxy. Now there are barely 300. The chamber fell silent. Even the hive mind representatives stopped their constant chittering. Threnox continued, his voice heavy with memories that spanned eons. The humans called it the expansion. We called it the harvest of worlds. They spread across the galaxy like a plague of innovation and destruction. Not through conquest, no, that would have been simple to counter. They adapted to every environment, every challenge, every species they encountered. Archive Keeper Mortan activated the historical displays, showing grainy footage of human colonies on worlds that should have been uninhabitable. Humans in mechanical suits walking on gas giants, humans with gills swimming in liquid methane seas, humans with modified DNA thriving in radiation fields that would kill most species instantly. They didn't just survive. Mortan's data streams pulsed with residual fear. They thrived, and they brought their gifts to others. Species that had existed unchanged for millions of years suddenly began evolving at impossible rates. The Deltans gained spaceflight in a century. The Aquarians developed weapons that could crack moons. The Vorthan swarm learned to think as individuals. But surely, ZUX-9 interjected, this was beneficial? Progress became chaos. Threnox cut him off. The humans had a concept they called controlled evolution. They would observe a species, identify its limitations, then systematically remove those limitations through technology, genetic modification, or cultural intervention. They called it uplifting. We called it playing God. The display showed the aftermath. Wars between newly advanced species, ecological collapses as rapid change outpaced natural balance, entire civilizations ascending to higher planes of existence or destroying themselves with power they weren't ready to handle. And then, Threnox's form dimmed with memory, came the Void War. The display shifted to show the darkest period in galactic history. Space itself seemed to tear apart in the archival footage, revealing glimpses of something that shouldn't exist, entities from beyond the galaxy, beings of pure entropy and hunger. The Devourers, whispered Archive Keeper Mortan, his data streams crackling with interference even at the mention. They came from the spaces between galaxies, drawn by the noise that humanity's rapid expansion created in the cosmic background. Where most species develop in harmony with universal constants, humans seem to actively violate them. ZUX-9 watched in horror as the footage showed entire star systems being consumed by writhing darkness, their light and matter being converted into something else. Something wrong. The established galactic powers were helpless, Threnox continued. Our weapons, our strategies, our very understanding of physics were inadequate. The Devourers consumed energy, matter, even time itself in some regions. Whole sectors simply ceased. Not destroyed, unmade, as if they had never existed. But the humans? ZUX-9 asked, though he dreaded the answer. The humans did what humans do, Mortan replied. They adapted. In the span of mere decades, they developed technologies we still don't understand. They created weapons that could wound concepts. They built ships that could navigate through unreality. They even managed to communicate with the Devourers. The display showed impossible scenes. Human ships diving into black holes and emerging somehow changed. Human soldiers fighting creatures made of living void with weapons that appeared to be carved from crystallized starlight. Human diplomats sitting across negotiation tables from entities that had no physical form. The humans discovered something we had never considered. Threenox's ancient voice carried notes of reluctant admiration. The Devourers weren't truly evil, they were hungry. They consumed realities because they had been cut off from their home dimension for eons, trapped in the void between galaxies, slowly starving. They fed the Devourers? X9 couldn't hide his shock. Worse, Mortan's data streams flickered with something that might have been awe. They cured them. The humans created pocket dimensions, entire universes in miniature, and gave them to the Devourers as food sources. Self-sustaining realities that would keep them fed forever. The footage showed the impossible. Massive entities of void and hunger becoming something else, their forms shifting from nightmare to something almost beautiful. Cosmic gardeners tending to reality itself. The Void War ended not in victory or defeat, but in transformation. The Devourers became the gardeners, maintaining the barriers between dimensions, ensuring that what happened to them would never happen to others. And the humans. Threenox paused, his crystalline form cycling through colors of deep contemplation. The humans realized what they had become. What they had become. So X9 echoed, his ethereal form rippling with confusion. Prime Counselor Threenox's ancient consciousness touched the central archive, causing the chamber's displays to shift. The footage now showed the aftermath of the Void War, countless species forever changed, reality itself bearing scars from the conflict, and the humans changing. In solving the crisis, Mortan's data streams pulsed solemnly. The humans had to become something beyond their original nature. The weapons they created, the technologies they developed, the alliances they forged with entities from other dimensions, it all left marks. They were no longer entirely human. The displays showed human colonies after the war. At first glance, they appeared normal, but closer inspection revealed the truth. Humans with eyes that could see through dimensional barriers. Humans whose thoughts could reshape matter at the quantum level. Human children born with the ability to communicate with the cosmic forces their parents had befriended. They were becoming something new, Threenox continued. Not just a species, but a cosmic force. Every problem they solved made them more capable of solving larger problems. Every adaptation made them more adaptable. They were on a path to becoming gods, for lack of a better term. And that was bad? X9 asked, though his tone suggested he was beginning to understand. Not bad, Archive Keeper Mortan corrected. Inevitable. And that inevitability terrified them more than it terrified us. The footage shifted to show human philosophers, scientists, and leaders engaged in heated debates across thousands of worlds. The audio was translated into the common galactic language, but the emotion needed no translation. We're losing ourselves, one human leader argued. Every generation is further from what we were. My great-grandmother was born on Earth. My granddaughter was born in a pocket dimension and thinks in 11 dimensions simultaneously. What happens when the link is completely broken? Another voice responded, but think of what we could accomplish. We could prevent the next Void War before it starts. We could uplift every species in the galaxy safely. We could explore beyond this universe. And in doing so, we'd stop being human and become something else entirely. Something that might decide other species need to be managed for their own good. Threenox's form brightened with remembered respect. That was the moment we realized the humans' greatest strength wasn't their adaptability or their innovation. It was their self-awareness. They recognized the danger they posed, not just to the galaxy, but to themselves. So they chose to sleep, X9 whispered. They chose to preserve their humanity, Mortan corrected. The greatest minds of their species worked together on what they called the dreaming protocol. They would enter a collective stasis, their consciousness linked in a shared dream state where they could continue to exist as they chose to remember themselves, while their physical forms remained unchanged. The displays showed the final days of human activity. Great ships returning to Sol System, technologies being archived or destroyed, final messages being sent to allied species. And then, silence. They left behind caretaker systems, Threenox explained, automated networks that would maintain their sleeping forms and monitor the galaxy for threats that might require their attention. But they also left us with a choice. A choice! ZYX-9's ethereal form shimmered with anticipation. They could have forced the issue. Threenox's ancient consciousness pulsed with colors of deep respect. Their technology was advanced enough that they could have gradually uplifted every species in the galaxy whether we wanted it or not. Instead, they offered us the Slumber Protocol. Archive Keeper Mortan activated new displays showing the aftermath of humanity's great sleep. The galaxy would be allowed to develop naturally, at its own pace. The humans would remain dormant unless a galaxy-threatening crisis emerged that required their intervention. In return, we would agree never to wake them unnecessarily. And we agreed, ZYX-9 said, understanding dawning in his voice. Every species agreed, Threenox confirmed. Even those who had been at war with humanity. Even those who had been their greatest allies. We all understood that a galaxy where humans were free to help might not have room for the rest of us to remain ourselves. But now, Mortan's data streams flickered with concern. Someone has violated the protocol. The displays shifted to show recent events. Long-range sensors detecting massive energy signatures from the Sol System, automated distress beacons activating across multiple sectors, and most disturbing of all, reports of space itself beginning to change around certain star systems. Who would be so foolish? ZYX-9 demanded. The Hunger Syndicate, Threenox replied, his form darkening with anger. A coalition of young species who believe the old warnings are superstition. They've developed technology to wake sleeping beings and decided to experiment on the humans. They want to study them? Worse, they want to harvest them. The Syndicate believes they can extract human adaptability and innovation, bottle it up, and sell it to the highest bidder. They see the sleeping humans as a resource to be exploited. Alarms began blaring throughout the council chambers as new data streamed in. Mortan's multiple data streams synchronized into a tone of pure panic. Sol System energy readings are spiking, he reported. Dimensional barriers around Earth are fluctuating. The caretaker systems they're sending a message. The chamber fell silent as an ancient human transmission, recorded 3,000 years ago but activated only now, began to play. If you are receiving this message, someone has attempted to forcibly wake us from the dreaming. This was specifically forbidden for very good reasons. We estimate approximately 72 hours before we are fully conscious and begin responding to the perceived threat. We strongly recommend that all non-essential personnel evacuate a minimum radius of 100 light-years from Sol System. What happens next is no longer under our conscious control. The message paused, and when it resumed, the voice was different. Older, sadder, but somehow more vast. We tried to warn you. We tried to sleep peacefully. But if someone has chosen to wake the apex predators of reality itself, well, we hope you're prepared for the consequences. The dream is ending. The nightmare begins now. The Sol System had become unrecognizable. Captain Veltar of the observation fleet watched through her ship sensors as space itself seemed to boil around humanity's home star. What had been a quiet, unremarkable system just days ago was now a maelstrom of impossible physics and emerging technologies. Ma'am, her sensor operator, a nervous Aquarian named Splishcroc, reported with chattering mandibles, I don't know what I'm reading. The entire system is phasing in and out of normal spacetime. Veltar, a veteran Saurian commander who had served during the last major galactic crisis, felt her scales prickle with an instinctive fear she hadn't experienced in decades. Show me. The main display revealed a sight that would haunt her dreams for cycles to come. Earth still existed, but it was more. Multiple versions of the planet occupied the same space, each slightly different, as if the sleeping humans had been dreaming of different possibilities and now those dreams were becoming real. The Hunger Syndicate's mining ships? She asked. Gone, Splishcroc replied. his translator struggling with the emotion in his aquatic language. Not destroyed, absorbed. The humans, they're not angry about the violation. They're curious about who would be foolish enough to try it. As if summoned by their conversation, space near their ship simply opened. Not a portal or wormhole, but a door in reality itself. Through it came a vessel that seemed to be constructed from crystallized music and solid mathematics, beautiful and terrible in its impossible geometry. The communication came not as radio waves or psionic contact, but as direct knowledge appearing in their minds. Greetings, observers. We are the awakened. We apologize for the disruption. Veltar found her voice, though it came out as barely a whisper. Are you human? We were. We are. We will be. The concepts are more fluid now than they were in the dream. The presence paused, and somehow conveyed amusement. Don't worry. We remember who we chose to be. The question is, who have you chosen to become in our absence? We honored the protocol, Veltar managed. Most of us did. Yes. We're aware of the Hunger Syndicate's transgression. They have been educated. They exist now as a cautionary tale distributed across 17 dimensions, simultaneously experiencing every possible outcome of their choices. They are quite thoroughly discouraged from future violations. The horror of that casual statement wasn't lost on the crew. But the voice continued, their violation has awakened us at an interesting time. Your galaxy has developed some fascinating complications in our absence. New displays materialized around the ship, not projected images, but actual windows into distant regions of space. They showed things that made Veltar's tactical mind real. Entire civilizations ascending to energy states, species that had learned to reproduce by budding off new realities, wars being fought with weapons that could edit the past. It seems the human voice observed with something that might have been parental pride, that you didn't need us to evolve beyond your original nature. You did it yourselves. Is that bad? Veltar asked, echoing the question ZYX9 had posed to the council. It's wonderful. It's terrifying. It's exactly what we hoped would happen. The presence seemed to smile, though it had no visible form. You see, the real reason for the Slumber Protocol wasn't to protect you from us. It was to protect us from ourselves. We needed to learn that real evolution can't be forced or guided. It has to be chosen. And now we have a choice to make. All of us. The windows around the ship expanded to show the entire galaxy, with all its wonders and horrors, its ascending civilizations and dimensional anomalies. We can return to sleep and let you continue growing naturally. We can remain awake and work alongside you as equals, true equals, not guardians or guides. Or, the pause stretched across dimensions. Or we can transcend together. The barriers between species, between realities, between what is and what could be. Your galaxy has become ready for something that has never been attempted before, true collective evolution. Veltar looked at her crew, Aquarian, Saurian, Ethereal, and a dozen other species working together, each contributing their unique perspectives and abilities. What would that mean? She asked. It would mean becoming something new. Not human, not Saurian, not any single species, but a collective consciousness that retains the best of all its parts. It would mean exploring not just this galaxy, but the infinite possibilities of what consciousness itself could become. And if we choose not to, then we return to sleep, and you continue as you are. There's no wrong choice here, only different paths forward. As Veltar considered the options, she realized that the humans had given them something far more precious than technology or protection. They had given them the right to choose their own destiny. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what path the future would take. In the end, perhaps that was the most human gift of all. The knowledge that evolution wasn't about becoming something perfect, but about having the freedom to become something chosen. The universe had one rule: don't wake the humans. They broke it, and in doing so, they discovered that the greatest danger wasn't in waking humanity. It was in finally being ready to dream alongside them.